Welcome to it. You are watching the Ladies Club. This is the leading sports show that completely focuses on leading women in sport. I am your hostess today, and I am Lebo Motswedi. Let's get right into it and give you a reminder of all our social media platforms. Of course, you can chat to us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Send us your thoughts, your views on incredible women in sport within your society, within your communities. Just continue to use the hashtag the Ladies Club at Sport at SABC. Communicate with us, especially when you have to look at the game changers, the trailblazers that continue to be on the Ladies Club. But before we go any further, as per usual, we always start with an inspirational quote here on the Ladies Club. And today's inspirational quote has been made very famous by the young kids who've taken these words and are leading by example, because we do have our very own Miss South Africa as the Miss Universe. These are her words. She says, "We are the most powerful beings in the world, and that we should be given every opportunity. And that is what we should be teaching the young girls, to take up space." Hashtag to take up space. Nothing is as important as taking up space and cementing yourself. And those are the words by Zozibini Tunzi, who is the current Miss Universe, obviously having won the Miss South Africa pageant. And it wasn't the first time. She had tried in the previous years, didn't even go through to the last round of 16, won the Miss South Africa pageant, continued to represent South Africa on a global stage, went through to the Miss Universe, and now she is based in New York, of course, and she's doing everything she can to fly that South African flag. And as I talk about taking up space, I also want to introduce you to our game changer today, who is all about breaking barriers. We do have a lot of women's sports who have also been sidelined and doesn't get enough platform, especially when you talk about the media platform. We do have football on our social medias and on our TV, football for women as well as tennis, netball. But when it comes to boxing, very rarely do you see women boxers getting that much deserved platform in the media space. And to talk to us a little bit about all things boxing is Sia VABAZA boy, who's joining us today as our incredible game changer. Good morning and welcome to the Ladies Club.
Morning, Lebu, and to the Ladies Club and the viewers at large.
Why boxing?
Wow, Lebu, I was born and bred in Duncan Village.
Yes.
And East London is known to be the mecca of boxing. So, was hooked into boxing at a very tender age. So the first sport in the Eastern Cape in East London is boxing. And I come from a boxing-mad family. My elder brother was a boxer. My younger brother was a world champion in the name of Kabula VABAZA. So boxing, East London, Eastern Cape is like one and the same thing, same WhatsApp group.
Same WhatsApp group, absolutely, the home of boxing.
Yeah.
And tell me about the fact that your mom used to sell some goods at a boxing environment when you were much younger. And that further reiterated your passion and love for boxing as a young girl.
Exactly. And our house was right at the doorstep of the community center. That's where boxing tournaments used to take place. So my mom was a professional nurse, and part-time she would run the kiosk. So we would assist in selling stuff, refreshments at the kiosk. So I got hooked up into boxing like that. I think I was around about 6 years old. Yes, that's how it came.
All right, I just mentioned a quote before I started talking to you, and this is the Miss Universe. She's now a world leader. She's on all the international shows, Zozibini, and she's talking about taking up space. Nothing is as important as taking up space and cementing yourself. How true does that quote ring within your life?
This is our time, this is our era. The young girls, the young ladies, the young women, they need to take up space. The opportunities now are there for us, and we must do away with this pulling down syndrome against women. This is our time, and Uzozi has opened doors for us. Really, we need to take up space, be it at work, be it in sport, wherever we are, we need to take up that space. Hashtag take up space.
Absolutely. Hashtag the Ladies Club. Let's now take it back to, you've been taking up space since you were 6. You have been involved with boxing since a young girl, but one would have thought then, if you're watching it, you'd want to be a boxer.
Yes.
Tell me about your journey into boxing then.
All right. When I started now, I wanted to be a boxer. Unfortunately then, the laws didn't allow women to box.
Absolutely.
So there was Mr. Loisomtya. He was my mentor.
Wow.
He smuggled me into boxing. And then he was going to have a tournament at Umdansane Indoor Sports Center then. So came the fight day. Everything was organized. And the board then was under the chairmanship of the late Mr. Les Mala. And everything was set. And Mr. Mala just walked to Mr. MT and said, "But Loiso, where's your ring announcer?" He said, "She's here." "But Loiso, we cannot allow women inside the ring.
Wow.
The act doesn't allow us." It was not easy, but it took me something like 6 years labor to break down those barriers for women to be allowed, because boxing is being governed by a parliamentary act. So the act of 1954 then didn't allow women to be involved in boxing in any manner. So it was really not easy, but by God's grace, I managed to win the battle. We are here. We are going to take up space as women in boxing.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely love it. This is VABAZA boy who's taking up space, all things boxing. And she's talking about the Boxing Act of 1954 that actually barred women for being involved with boxing. How ridiculous does that sound? Come 2020, we're taking up all sorts of spaces. Continue the conversation on hashtag The Ladies Club on SABC2 right after this. We're talking all things boxing with Sia. She's had such an incredible story because it all comes from way back then when she was a youngster, 4, 6 years old. Boxing was in her space. And I asked her before you joined us why she didn't take part in boxing. And we're talking about the act that actually did not permit women, the Act of 1954, did not permit women to take part in boxing. And continue the story, because then what happened thereafter? We're looking at the act and the fact that you said your mentor then said, "I've got a ring announcer, she's gonna do it." And then what happened?
Unfortunately, Lebo, I couldn't jump inside the ring, and that was it. That was about 1989. Then I applied through the board, of course. I wrote board exams. I came out with flying colors, but the law was still there. I couldn't allow. It took me 6 years of fighting to break those barriers. It was only in 1994. I started in 1989. Imagine, Lebo, being subjected to that, writing board exams, passing the board exams, but because of your gender, because you are a woman, you are being discriminated.
That's insane.
It was only in 1994 when boxing was reconstructed under the late minister, Mr. Steve Tshwete, that I was allowed to be a fully fledged boxing referee and a judge. And when I reflect back now, from 1994 till now, I sleep peacefully at night because I have managed to produce other young ladies in the name of the Sylvia Mukailas, the Pumezas Nakiles, that are also now credible world referees and judges, because now I'm an internationally acclaimed referee. Recently, I was in Germany in November last year.
Yeah.
We had a gala dinner there, and I was just kidding around with my colleagues from outside the country. When my name was called into the podium, bear in mind, Lebo, I'm competing with male. I'm talking about male referees.
I'm even getting goosebumps, yeah.
My name was called. I couldn't even hear my name until the president walked down the stage and came to me, "Your name is being called." For what? The best referee for World Boxing Federation 2019, all the way from South Africa. Sia VABAZA boy. For real? Is it for real now?
An international award.
In Germany, in a foreign country. That was a cherry on top. 1997, I was recognized by the IBF in...
Wait, before you go to 97, 95, then you officiated the big fight.
Between
with the Hawk.
Zolile Mbiji
Yes.
and the Russian. I
Yes.
forgot the Russian. That was my first international.
Yes. I mean, that was a big deal.
At Stadium.
Thank you.
And something absurd that never happens in boxing happened. Lulam Namtia was the referee, and the gloves tore off. The fight had to be stopped. So that is why we always have the spare gloves. That seldom happens inside the ring. And I was kind of like shivering. What's going to happen now?
Yes.
The gloves are torn.
Yeah.
But eventually the fight continued. Unfortunately, the Russian guy couldn't continue fighting.
Sure. And then 1997?
Oh, I've done welcome each other, Hawk.
Yes.
My childhood friend, we are from the same age group. He was just after his loss from Kennedy McKinney. He was fighting at the University of Fort Hare at the sports center there. That was a highlight of my career.
Why was that the highlight of your career?
Welcome, we grew up together. He became a world champion. I was next to him. I was involved in boxing already. Now taking a center stage. The judges is Lebu from Russia,
Yes.
Sia VABAZA from South Africa. Who I said, Lord, for real now,
Your
is
name
it me?
amongst the
International Boxing Federation, a South African black woman, Noha Lebu.
It was really incredible. And then in
wow.
97, you also had another accolade.
Yes, I went with Riani Bungu. He was the IBF champion there to Toronto, in San Antonio in Texas. He was going to be awarded. I didn't know that I was going to be recognized there by the IBF. I got a recognition and I got a standing ovation. The first ever female referee and judge from the continent of Africa, Sia VABAZA.
Wow.
Humbled. I was like, wow.
Oh, because this is also a few years after you had taken on
The international stage.
Yeah.
Yes. Come 2000, the first ever World Boxing Council WBC Ring Congress in Paris. I was also recognized by the late president of the WBC, the late Jose Suleiman. Lebu, what I can tell you, sport has shown me places. Sport has taken me into places. And I want to encourage all the young ladies to be involved in sport. And the only thing that sustains you in sport is discipline.
How important is discipline in boxing?
It is very important. I cannot stop to emphasize discipline, the self-control, your character. You bring out your best. When you start to be amongst the male counterparts, being the only rose amongst the thorn, you need to stamp your foot. You need to have your principles. You need to your ethics. You need to your best. You bring out your best because you become vulnerable. And everybody wants to have his share of the cake. So you need to have your ethics,
Sure.
if you understand.
You have such an incredible story. I'm being told we need to go to a break, but quite frankly, I wish we could just talk forever because I also want to find out what does it take to be a referee adjudicator for boxing. What are the differences when you look at South African style of boxing, the international style of boxing? What do the laws say? And how women, an incredible woman, is also welcomed by the world into this male-dominated sport that is boxing. I'm still scared of it. We continue that conversation with Sia right after this. Welcome back. You are watching the Ladies Club. We've had an incredible conversation in studio talking about boxing, women in boxing, women that are worldly recognized. Sia VABAZA Boy is one such woman who also won the World Boxing Federation. It's an international award, Referee of the Year just last year. And I want to find out from her, how have you been received at home?
At first, Lebu, it was not easy because the males were wondering, what is this lady doing in our territory?
And also they judge because you look a certain way. You are
tiny,
small,
fragile little girl.
yeah, pretty with the hair.
What is she doing in our territory?
Mm-hmm.
Because it used to be their territory. I said, if God created women, I am going to go wherever the Lord leads me.
Amen.
They didn't want any women. It was just a few of them. if I'm saying 10% of the male, that is too much. I had few people in my corner, but I don't want to mention names here.
Yeah.
But eventually, they had to melt their hearts with time, because I told myself that I am not going to be discouraged. I am here to stay. Imagine labor from 1989,
Just
fighting a lonesome battle till 1994, with the only help of the Women in Sport organization that we used to have then, that was affiliated to the National Sports Council. That is the only support system that I had then. Can you imagine fighting a lonesome battle amongst the, I don't want to say the word, amongst men.
Amongst the men. And you've got a wedding band, and you've got an incredible husband also who's supporting you with such a male-dominated industry.
Wow. God doesn't stop to amaze me.
Yeah.
The secret.
Yes.
And this is the secret I'm sharing with the ladies.
Yes, please share.
We never dated.
Wow.
He just saw me at a funeral of a former boxer. Something said inside his heart, that is the one.
That's my wife.
That is the one. And he sent his uncles and everything at home. I didn't even know the men.
Wow.
Excuse me.
But I mean, he's also a former bantamweight champion, so...
He knew me very well. I grew up in front of him. He used to fight when I was a little girl, and I never had eyes on him because I was still young.
Yeah.
And he was from Umtansane, and I'm from Duncan Village.
Yeah.
So in his time, he used to fight boxers from Duncan Village. So I was fighting with the boxers from Duncan Village then. So now when he's telling me, I am Mandla boy, oh, the former boxer, I know your name. The name is sounds familiar to me. I want your hand in marriage. And now, I'm a born again, I'm saved. I'm also saved. But the Lord told me that you are my wife. I said, no ways. I shut him down. But down the line, I had to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now you married into the world of boxing, and tell me about what it takes in terms of family-wise to keep you rooted also, and say you married a former boxer, you're now still also in boxing. How important is that vibe at home, so to speak?
Wow, we live boxing, we eat boxing, we sleep boxing.
I can tell.
Even when I'm in the kitchen busy on a Sunday afternoon,
Keep boxing.
wearing my apron, he would come around, shadow boxing. Hey, this man is gonna hit me.
Yeah.
We live, we eat boxing. But unfortunately, our kids, we're sharing 3 boys amongst us, none of them is into boxing.
Really? How is
But
that
they like
possible?
it. No, they didn't like it. They didn't want to be involved. They were busy with their studies. They are working now, they're grown up.
None of them took to the sport.
None of them, I'm telling you.
Wow. Now tell me how boxing has evolved. Are we seeing enough women in South Africa taken to the sport?
Not really. That is the biggest challenge we have. I will tell you, with boxers themselves, we don't have enough pool of boxers in South Africa. You will find out Noni Tenge is the world champion. She is fighting the same person timelessly. She fought
true.
Mapule Ngubane 5 times because there is no
There's
pool
no
of
competitor.
boxers. Yeah.
So what do you think should happen? I mean, you're on a different side of boxing.
Capacity development, encouragement, starting at a tender age, school sports, introducing boxing at a tender age.
But they say it's dangerous. I'm scared.
It is not. It is played according to the rules.
Yeah.
It is even in the word of God.
How so?
It is 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 24. You read.
Chisel.
You read for yourself. I don't want to preach.
All right.
I'm a mum fundis. I'll start preaching.
All right. So the challenges are that there's not enough development programs around the country that nurse the kids from a young age.
And
for
talent
boxing.
identification. Talent identification.
Is that something that interests you that perhaps you do?
That's what I intend to do now.
Yeah.
I've been into boxing for 31 years now.
Sure.
What I want to do now is grassroots development.
Yeah.
With girls, of course.
And how do you think you're going to go about doing that?
Let's keep it for the next interview.
For the next
That's
interview.
a cat in the bag.
Are you still?
That's a cat in the bag. I'm not letting it out.
Okay, Sia's not letting it out. The fact that she wants to now focus into really looking after the girls, nurturing the talent of tomorrow. Let's also now talk about your day-to-day. What is your normal, typical day like?
My normal, typical, I'm a businesswoman, I'm a house executive, I'm a director, I wash and cook for him, I've got my businesses, I'm a sports consultant.
So the judge hat goes off.
Yes, at home, I'm a wife at home. I submit to my master, there's only one master at home. I submit. That's my everyday life. After work, he comes home, we take our running shoes, we hit the road. We've got a full circuit at home. He's my prayer partner, he's my training partner, he's my boss, he's my friend, he's my everything. And he wants to dictate terms. He says, Farah, we're not in that fight, that boxer was down, you didn't count.
Yes.
Your problem is that you are a boxer. I'm a referee.
So how does that work then? How does that work? And he comes on and says, but you didn't do it right. You didn't count
He's
this.
my biggest critic, I'm telling
Really?
you. I said, no, your problem, you don't know the rules. You know the game. Just play. I will referee, I will judge. I will tell you the scores.
And what does he say?
We just laugh about it.
Is it?
Yeah.
But how difficult are those moments where it's a unanimous decision, for example, or whatever?
It's a split.
It's a split. You know, how difficult are those, how tricky and difficult are those to navigate?
It's not really difficult. The point is, you've got 3 judges for a fight. They sit in different angles. Maybe something I saw, the other judge didn't see it because the boxer was turning his back towards him. So it's not an absurd thing to get a split decision.
Have you ever been criticized for the way you award points, or the way this person wins or that one doesn't win? Have you ever been under, you get home and there's been a lot of attention on one particular fight you were in charge of?
When I started, yes, because I don't think it was about the decision exactly.
It was about you.
About my gender.
Yeah.
Yabona lo mfazi asimazi ufunani egamini yethu. Wenza kanje kanje kanje. I tell you the gospel truth. The boxer that wins inside the ring is the one that wins in my scorecard. I don't care who says what.
And how important is it to play by the rules?
At the end of the day, you still have to account behind the scenes. They call you. It's your reputation. You may be suspended if you take unfair decisions. So we also account to the board, to the fight supervisors, the decisions that you take. They also have a review panel if the decision was queried. So you just don't do as you please.
Now, looking at international fights and international boxers, what other fight would you like to officiate in or judge in at the moment?
Wow, Lebo, I've seen it all, my dear. As I've told you, I've done the IBF, the WBC, the WBO, the IBO. I've reached the ceiling. I've seen it all.
I think there's a boxer very popular, the likes of Joshua Anthony. Him, maybe?
Yeah, that would be a cherry on top.
But it's not really.
I feel I've achieved a lot, Lebo.
Yeah.
I've achieved a lot. I've done it all. When Lennox Lewis came to fight here in South Africa, I was doing the main supporting bout of that fight.
Wow.
I've been around, I've seen it all. I think it's time now to make way so that my little ones can show up now. It's their time to shine. As I've indicated, I've got my Pumezas Nakiles, I've got my Sylvia Mukailas. And I believe in the word of God that says a student cannot be better than her teacher. Last year at Sentin ICC, I got an award here in Joburg as the best referee. Now, if I'm going to continue contending with my students, when are they going to shine? Mamsiya, just step aside for your kids to shine. I think it's time now.
Wow, I think that's a great message. Let's leave it there. Mamsiya, thank you so much for sharing the word, your
You're
journey,
welcome,
your
Lily.
ups, your downs. I'm looking forward to hearing more from what you're going to achieve.
Hashtag, take up the space.
I love it. Hashtag take up the space. Hashtag the Ladies Club. Thank you so much for joining us. And let's continue the conversation on social media platforms at Sport at SABC. And remember, though, that we also would like to hear your thoughts with regards to who you would like in that hot seat that will continue to inspire you, to really show you there's a different side to perhaps what you think women in sport is. I'm Lebo Motswedi for SABC Sport for the Ladies Club. Goodbye.